Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Accenture Presents Masters of Change Digital Transformation Symposium in collaboration with CNBC-TV18.com and Moneycontrol, a series of industry-focused discussions across sectors to explore and examine new age technologies and innovative methodologies that can enable industries across sectors to pivot to growth. And I'm your host, Ruchira Sharma. Today, the spotlight is on the telecom sector. The case for the immediate rollout of 5G networks in India is compelling. In fact, a prerequisite for the nation's growth and development. And as per estimates, 5G has the potential to create a cumulative economic impact of $1 trillion in the country by the year 2035. So, dialing 5G for progress. That is the topic for our discussion with leading industry experts. So through this discussion, we will attempt to discover the top trends, developments, challenges, and opportunities for the telecom sector's digital transformation journey. We have a very special panel today. So let me begin by introducing them. We have with us Mr. Adarsh Nair, CEO, Airtel Digital, and Chief Product Officer, Bharti Airtel.
Thanks for having me today.
Mr. Kiran Thomas, CEO, Jios Platform Limited.
Good to be here.
Great to have you, sir. Mr. Anish Shah, President, Digital Platforms, Information Technology, Jio Platforms.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And Mr. Vishal Singh, Head, CSP, Global Business Center.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks a lot.
And Mr. Saurav Kumar Sahu, Managing Director and Client Group Lead, Communications, Media and Technology, Accenture in India.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Great. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today and taking our times from your very hectic schedules. So before we dive in, I would just like to set the context. 5G, as we all know, is the most transformative technologies of all time for not just this sector, but all the sectors. And as with any kind of disruption, opportunities and threats are equally large for the traditional network operators and equipment suppliers. So today we will try to decode how can leaders like you all propel the industry to growth with the 5G rollout. And my first question to you all is, you can take this one by one, that what do you think will be the transformative impact of FG worldwide or 5G worldwide, and what do you think 5G will really bring to the table? So we can begin with you, Mr. Kiran.
Yeah, so thank you once again. And we all know where India was, let's say, 5 years back. We had a challenge of getting all Indians connected, and we saw what at the time was cutting edge technology, which was 4G, as the means to do it in the quickest possible manner. To enable that, obviously, we had to solve the technology problem associated with 4G, but beyond that, create a huge digital infrastructure from the grounds up. And most importantly, while people think about 4G as wireless, but there's a huge fiber network which had to be rolled out. And now, 5 years later, what looks like a very short time, 5G is already here. So if you think about what 5G means, it is a combination of next generation of network technologies, which means even higher bandwidth, which means lower latency, smarter network, which means you can dedicate certain types of capabilities of the network for certain types of customers. So effectively, you become more personalized. And more importantly, it enables a completely new set of devices and solutions that can be powered using that technology. So everything from augmented reality to very smart industrial solutions that can be deployed using this smarter network technology and infrastructure that we are looking to create. I think that is the promise that 5G holds. And in one sense, you can say that no industry will be untouched by this revolution. Everything from education to healthcare to manufacturing to gaming to entertainment, you can imagine a completely new set of experiences and solutions. Of course, powered by the next generation infrastructure, which has to be deployed, and the next generation devices, which have to be created to support that. But I'm sure globally, as well as in India, we will see a great degree of innovation on the back of this very powerful and smart technology that we're looking to see in the near future.
Thank you for those opening remarks and what you rightly pointed out. Mr. Adarsh, what would you like to add here?
I think Kiran's got the framing right. So when we think about 5G, the market the next couple of years. I think it's going to be building up to a point where we get some scale. So I think 4G is going to be around for the next couple of years. It's going to be slowly kind of taken over by 5G. So when you think about what are the applications that are practical, and I agree with Kiran, it's going to be all across the board. Let me walk you through some of the things that we are planning with this 4G to 5G transformation. So one big change we believe is going to be around the IoT ecosystem. We're already seeing a lot of pickup when it comes to smart metering, when it comes to vehicle tracking, fleet tracking. All that's going to be on steroids when 5G comes along. With the NB-IoT technology being more proliferated, we do believe all that's going to accelerate. And then the applications are going to be far-ranging. We do believe there's going to be extension into agriculture. There's going to be extensions into healthcare. So this is one area that is very exciting for us come 5G, and it's very business relevant. Another interesting area that's going to come along is this whole work from home evolution that's happening with hybrid work, etc. 5G is going to enable better coverage, better bandwidths in larger locations in India. So I think there's going to be technological evolution on the back of 5G that's going to enable work from home. You're already seeing devices come into the market with 4G SIMs embedded, which is enabling work from home in corners that were otherwise not possible. Come 5G, things are only going to get better. So that's the second area of interest. And one more business application is this entire CPaaS sector, which is cloud communications as a service. Video, which is already exploding on the consumer side. I think the business applications of video is also going to expand greatly through CPaaS when 5G comes along. And you could imagine a simple scenario. If you have somebody coming in and doing a service at home, you could have a video-enabled experience that's going to guide this particular technician on how to do service. So these are some of the business impacts that I see come along with 5G.
Great. Thank you for that, Mr. Adarsh. Mr. Anish, what would you like to share here? The transformative impact of 5G across the world, and what is it really bringing to the table for all of us across sectors?
I think both my colleagues, Kiran and I think even others said it very correctly. This change is something which is inevitable. We are going to see this change, and the change is going to happen everywhere. It is not only in the consumer or only in the enterprise sector, but I see this happening in many other sectors, including in health, including in education, including in retail. I mean, some of these sectors they are transforming. I mean, look at the way COVID has made some changes. The schools are now inside our homes, and 5G is only going to probably make it much more interactive. Probably things which were not possible earlier. 5G is going to add that. So obviously, I definitely echo to what I think Kiran started and others completed. But I would say that this change is inevitable. We are going to see this change coming very closer to us as a consumer, as an entrepreneur, as an enterprise. Everywhere we will see that things are going to change. Our business models are going to be very different. There is a lot of disruption going to happen in every sector, and probably each and every industry sector has to now look at and rethink their new business plans and their new business models.
All right. Mr. Vishal, coming to you, what are your thoughts on 5G? We know that it has real-time connectivity. It will enhance, increase, it will offer low latency, lightning fast speed. So how will it enable us to leapfrog and stay ahead of the curve and, actually move towards the future? What are your thoughts here?
So, first of all, I think all our colleagues here have, shared some very deep insight, and there is, I would not, add, or well, I'll add to it. I'll not repeat them. It will bring, first of all, a paradigm shift for the role of CSPs, service providers, beyond and take them beyond connectivity. I think the promise of telecom industry to participate in the digital economy it can be realized through 5G. I think 5G has that potential where we've been talking about being a digital service provider. We've been talking about being a platform provider. I think 5G can really truly realize that potential for service providers. The realization of what cloud brings to the table, and how do you take that in terms of services and capability to in the hands of consumers as well as enterprises, is what 5G can actually do with its high speed, low latency network, correct? And that's kind of where we will see also deep, economic and social impact. We do know the data is already here, correct? But just the question is, how do we bring new revenue streams for our service providers? How do you bring new, services which can actually transform? A country like India, for example, I think it's leapfrogged into into the internet era through mobile network, correct? And we know the success story. 5G, I think, has the potential to really take that to completely different level, with capabilities that can actually offer very unique services across almost all sectors, cutting across all sectors from agriculture, education, transportation, logistics. You touch any vertical sector, I think you will be able to do some amazing job, bring a lot more efficiency, increase productivity, make a huge impact to huge economic impact. And we talk about this topic quite a bit, but to build a sustainable world, digital has to play a very big role, and 5G will be that foundation to create a digital infrastructure where pretty much all kinds of applications will ride and provide a much deeper, I would say, impact to build a sustainable future.
Great thought there. I'll just come back to that. Mr. Saurabh, what are your opening remarks here?
Well, the thing about being the last to speak is you literally have, especially in this panel, is you literally have nothing else to add. But I think, if I may just think through it this way, and I was just ruminating about this today, like how mobile phones translated the entire computing world, right? The power of computers into the hands and palms of people. 5G will probably do that for supercomputing and quantum technologies in the hands and the palms of people. What essentially it will mean maybe for enterprises is being really real time, precision, automation. For people in general, for the consumers, will be highly immersive experiences, hyper personalization. And more importantly, I think this will probably spur entrepreneurship. With the kind of applications that 5G can and very easily do, and what all the esteemed panelists have already spoken about, I think that this is going to usher in another new wave of entrepreneurship in India as well as across the world, where a lot of these applications can essentially be taken up, and this will be something which will be great for the growth of the economy, both in India as well as worldwide.
Great. So, as you all mentioned, 5G will provide a new perspective to consumer experiences, and that could range from gaming, video, and music. So, Mr. Adarsh, coming to you first, how have you been working at Airtel towards making customer experience the cornerstone of your entire digital strategy?
I'm happy to share some thoughts on that. So see, there's two parts to it. One is customer experience in the world we live today. And then there is the enhancement that we believe that's going to happen with 5G. So at Airtel, over the last 3 years, we've taken a very concerted effort across the, I would say, search to refer life cycle of a customer. And we've been investing in digitization. And I'll give you simple examples, right? If you look at when you call us, which is still a very common channel in India, the quality of the agent earlier used to be monitored by human beings, and then we would do corrective behavior so that you get a pleasant experience versus maybe an agent who happens to be angry on the call. Today, that entire monitoring is done through speech analytics, completely digitized with a report going to the managers on the quality of the experience the agent provided. So that digitization is now affecting all parts of Airtel. Our acquisition channels are omni-channel now. You could start online, then you could finish something, the purchase in the store. So this whole search to refer cycle digitization, which has already happened, I think it gets a boost when 5G comes along. Because now not only are you able to get that experience, in a tier 1 town, but you go to a tier 2 town, your bandwidth speeds are higher, your latency is better. And if there was an experience connected to video, that'll work so much better when you are on 5G and mobile, right? So that's where I feel there is a step up in consumer experience. Now let me talk about what are some of the tests we are doing today to kind of prepare for 5G. So one, of course, we did the commercial test where how's 5G going to play out. We're seeing gigabit speeds in metros. We've done FWA, which is this technology where even rural sites can actually get much better speeds and latency as 5G comes along. So that's the base layer in terms of providing that network experience. That's brilliant. Above that, I think inside Airtel, the focus is twofold on how do we bring video more into how we interact with customers today. It could be on the customer service side, how do we deploy more video demos on how to interact with us and our technologies? On the, I would say, proposition side, how do we bring in more interactive demos on understanding our products better, making the purchase cycle easier? So across the spectrum, we are looking at more engaging video and interactive scenarios as the way you engage with Airtel. So this would be, I would say, one way by which I think 5G is going to impact us in the short term. The second, and I would just kind of probably pause here because I'm sure my peers would have some great examples to share, leveraging IoT more and I would say more of workforce tracking technologies better to optimize the way we serve you. So think about an installer who's walking into your house to deploy broadband, or think about an installer who's walking into your house to get DTH. How do we get them to your home efficiently? How do we use Internet of Things technology to make sure we've got the right data to optimize their route to you, optimize the availability of the hardware they got to pick up in the warehouses? All of this, again, gets so much sharper with 5G coming along and IoT kicking off. So these are some of the ways by which we are thinking about an experience lift within Airtel.
Sure. Thank you for that, Mr. Adarsh. Coming to you, Mr. Anish, with sweeping changes that the telecom industry is facing, they must adapt, not just with the best networks, but they also need to embrace digitization across various aspects, whether it's customer experience or internal organization. So what are your thoughts here?
First of all, we agree that these changes are real, and it definitely impacts a lot internally, and even for customer experience, like what others mentioned. Let me talk about what we have done. Jio was definitely conceived and born as a digital first company. Our founding mission is to enable digital life for India, Indians, and Indian business. This stated vision of ours, and for that, we had to be digital first internally. I mean, for example, day one, we have pioneered digital first into our business and operation models. 100 million customers in 180 days was only possible because of eKYC and digital KYC, where we introduced a WOW experience. We call it as WOW, walking in, walking out with connection available online, which earlier was never possible. This was a classic example of getting everybody the quick connections. We pioneered the AI bot service for the first time in customer care. My Jio today, you don't have to even go to a care, especially for the younger generations. They don't like to go to customer call centers. They want to do everything on their own. And I think AI bot for customer care, especially in telecom, was something which we introduced in this area. COVID, I think that's another thing. COVID actually, we got a lot of new business opportunities. For example, most of our customers who do recharges, they were not able to do recharge because they were not able to access to the physical stores where they used to do it, especially for the assisted set of people who are using assisted model. And we introduced a JioPOS Lite application, which was actually enabling a hyper-local assisted recharge and all kinds of support which was provided. And that really built almost 1 million plus associate network. I mean, that's a new model which got introduced. Never-ending journey. This is actually continuously we are doing a lot of innovation. And
Definitely.
why all this is possible? Because of our state-of-the-art network. I mean, we have 100% zero legacy, all IP, infinite scale architecture. We have a deep talent pool, both in technology and domain. I mean, just to give example, we have close to around 8,000 engineers and even data scientists who are working on a lot of some of these innovations which we have built into our platforms. In fact, more than 50% of our technology landscape is no more a COTS product or a commercially off the shelf solutions. We have built a lot of our own and open source, and we still certainly do a mix and match of the best partner offerings into the mix. All our internal processes, they have smart automation and mobile first, with big data analytics and AI ML backing it up. And organizationally, I think we embody the Reliance culture of end-to-end outcome ownership, along with deep functional expertise, flat organization structure, and fast decision making, and bringing agility. I think these are some of the, I would say, sweeping changes, or rather, we born with some of these capabilities as we start.
Great. All right. Mr. Kiran, what is your key learning? Jio, of course, has completed 5G network coverage planning for top 1,000 cities in the country, and it's augmenting its fiber capacity constantly. So what is your key learning, if you could share that with us? So you're on mute. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm not. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Now we can hear you.
So absolutely, like you rightly said, 5G technology requires very diligent planning, and of course the techniques of doing this planning is very different. We use very advanced simulation tools. We use 3D maps, because 5G is only a technology, but technology is only as good as how you deploy it eventually.
Right.
So that detailed planning for how we will introduce 5G across the country. I mean, this is not new to us. We went through a similar exercise when we did 4G. Of course, compared to 5G, those were more, I would say, early stage technologies and techniques. But obviously, we have the talent, like Anish said, internally to do all of that. The trial deployment, like others mentioned, I'm sure our Airtel is also doing the same. We are going through a similar thing and seeing similar results, which is phenomenal speeds, very low latency. And the most important thing is, the deep fiberization which is required. So 4G, obviously required that, but we are augmenting the fiber plant even more, because all this bandwidth that we are talking about from 5G has to be finally carried to where the applications are, or even to the internet. So this is all about the network. But I think the biggest learning for us when we started 4G, and we are very conscious of that now, is the network by itself is not sufficient. We have to work very closely with the ecosystem to develop devices on the one hand, because if you don't have 5G capable devices, then the network really doesn't come into play. And likewise, we need to have differentiated applications which can really showcase what 5G is all about. Of course, 5G does bring a new price performance to the basic gigabit economics, in the sense that you have more capacity for lower cost or per unit cost. So obviously that's great for everybody. We can serve more people. We can offer much sharper price point. All of that is great. But if you're not able to catch the imagination of the public with certain applications, and with 4G, the death of distance and death of time has already occurred, right? I mean, everybody takes for granted that you're always connected. You can always access information. All information is in real time. Yeah. All of that has already happened. Now, what next? What is that next wave of imagination? Maybe it is richer video. Maybe it is more video. Maybe if it is more realistic augmented reality type environments. Maybe it's critical applications like healthcare, where milliseconds matter, right? I mean, think about an ambulance, where the ambulance is going on the road, there's a patient inside, but the hospital has real-time information available thanks to 5G, and real-time interventions can be made by the doctors and experts who are sitting in the hospital, something of that nature. So really, some of these applications have to come into play for people to really gravitate and understand what 5G is all about, and then wanting to take in. Anish mentioned early on about schools and what 4G was able to do through COVID. So we got the schools into the living room. But now think about bringing the entire universe into both the schools and the living rooms through simulations, rich simulations, especially with augmented reality headsets. We have our own research and development initiative going on there with Geo Glass, which is something that you can wear and really visualize any concept or any principle or any learning experience in rich 360-degree high definition content. Now all of these have phenomenal, I would say. It tends to catch imagination, and this combination of device, network, and applications is really what we believe will really turn the corner with respect to adoption of 5G. And then we have seen how that this triangle, when it comes together, we have seen how that even in 4G, how the industry got transformed in a very, very compressed period of time. So that's really the takeaway for me.
All right, great. Thank you for sharing that. And before I come to you, sort of quickly coming to you, Adarsh, for your learnings here and the primary challenges and solutions that you faced, because as we all know, Airtel's ecosystem has been rapidly evolving, and you've been digitizing your core businesses, mobility, broadband, DTH, and B2B. So, what were the challenges you faced, and what were the solutions that you used?
See, Anish and mentioned the whole idea about being digital first when Jio launched. We did not have that luxury. We actually were a company that's 20 years old, so did really well for the long part of it, and then we had to get into this digital game. So the first couple of years, I'm talking the 2018s, we had a lot of work to platformatize. So I'll give you a simple construct like payments, right? Multiple businesses each having their own payment stack. So one big challenge that we faced was having a deep thinking on platforms. So payments as a platform. Let's think about data. Each business had their own data, and combined with the bandwidth and the latency and all that, the next big vector is data. So to create Airtel's own DMP, a data management platform that's centralized, that was a huge task. So we spent quite a few years in getting that platformatization happening at the core. So that I think was one big journey Airtel took in the 18s and the 19s to get going. So that was, I would say, one challenge, but that's largely behind us. The second big construct is, if you look at India, it was still a pretty heavily offline country. Even if you were taking a pre-COVID look at things, a lot of things used to have that final touch point offline, right? I think blending the online thinking and connecting it well with offline, think omni-channel, was another big challenge we took early on. And it's really coming to fruition as we think about this year. And the blending is incredible, right? During COVID, for example, we used to have about 50% people charging online. And suddenly, out of the blue, our entire offline network went dark. How do you get then folks who are not used to recharging online? How do we get them to recharge? We invented a concept called a superhero program, where using our telco app, anybody could recharge for anyone else, and they could earn a commission in the middle.
So greater accessibility.
Exactly. So that took the entire online recharges all the way to 90%. So these were some of the real challenges that I think we had to tackle on platformatization, thinking online and offline, bringing it together. So that I would say was the journey so far. Now going forward, it's all about what's the next leap in experience. And I'm seeing some big trends on consumer. One is this whole concept of creator and Web3. So we've got a music platform, we've got a video platform. It's doing like hundreds of millions somehow. So now how do you see the whole creator economy changing? How do we embrace that? How do we adopt new business models? That is not subscription, not advertising, more Web3. That I think is a very interesting play for us. And you combine that with this whole AR, VR, leading into, I hesitate to use the word, but metaverse, right? These are all things we are studying. We're trying things out. You saw the Couple Dev demo that happened recently. So all these are experiments we are running to see how do you define the next leg of consumer experience and how can we be ready in a big way.
Great. So, sort of that is exactly the next question. All these advanced technology, they definitely have better ROI and benefits. So, how can the sector pivot to growth with these digital technologies and partnerships? And could you tell us the major business advantages of deploying them within networks?
See, that's an easy question to answer because I can bet for sure that whatever Adarsh and Kiran and Anish bhai do, nothing will be without an ROI. So it goes without saying that if the three of them are talking about 5G and 5G related applications, there is definitely an ROI roadmap behind it. But I think on a serious note, one or two things which I would just want to tell from my colleagues here is uh, when Adarsh is talking about the real applications of 5G, about IoT or about video and the likes of it, a few years back, these were concepts, right? Today, he is actually enabling this for Airtel, right? And if you look at what Anish bhai also talked about in terms of education for all and what Kiran essentially spoke about, the entire part about the next generation of applications. These are things that these guys are already doing, right? And this is where I believe for the first time with 5G, the speed of technology and the speed of innovation has actually come together. Typically, you always see situations where either the technology is too advanced for something to happen, or you have the application already being thought through. The technology is not ready. And a great example is Avatar. When James Cameron wanted to make Avatar, he had the entire thing ready. He waited 10 years to get the technology right to make the movie. Um, but I think with something like a 5G coming in, the speed of both the power of technology and innovation are coming together. Very clearly, AI, ML, data, which others, Kiran and Anishbhai spoke about, these are the building blocks. Right? They are no longer just capabilities; they are enablers. You will need to get your data right. We will need to get structured in a manner, data structured in a manner which is an enabler for digital disruptions. We will need to create a roadmap in place which will give us the right ROIs. I think companies are already thinking in that direction extremely well. And the last point I would like to make is, whilst this panel has got primarily, telcos and equipment providers, but at the end of the day, the real consumption of 5G is going to happen by people everywhere, right? So it's a cross industry, across the world phenomenon, and I think they are ready to use this in their businesses, right? So they're looking forward to it. Across sectors, they're looking for the kind of ROIs and benefits that this can essentially entail. That's where the speed of technology which telcos can bring to the table and the speed of innovation that can be fostered in the industry in general will now find a common existence.
Great points there, sort of. Coming to you, Vishal, as per GSMA, India is on its way to becoming the second largest smartphone market globally by 2025, with almost 1 billion installed devices. And it's expected to have 88 million 5G connections by 2025. So, could you take us through Nokia's market readiness?
Yeah, I think we are all geared up to actually support the rollout of 5G in India. Just few pointers here. One is our Chennai factory is already manufacturing 5G new radio and 5G massive MIMO products, and currently for the global market. So India is we have a I would say a significant presence in India with respect to how we serve the global markets. So our factories are producing products, and this is these factories are well equipped with latest technology to enter the domestic requirements, to address the domestic requirements very quickly. Our global delivery centers in Noida and Chennai are managing 5G network rollouts across the world, across several operators around the world, and we will have we have 5G trained workforce ready to support Indian CSPs for the 5G rollout. Third aspect is our R&D centers in Bangalore have 5G as a focus. With 5G application use cases, all aspects of research and development around it. We are working with ecosystem partners and academia towards building a strong 5G ecosystem and use case which are specific to India. So in terms of our presence in India, and we have been already actively engaged in supporting the global rollout of 5G, both from a product perspective, from a human capability of delivery centers and product R&D itself. We are definitely very well geared up to address the 5G rollout, which we just heard our colleagues and our peers in the industry talk about, and their aspirations of using 5G as really truly a platform where we'll make we'll leapfrog into a different new digital world. In India in particular, just to give you some more data points here, we've been engaged with the Indian service providers for 5G trial and have made several public announcements actually, and achieved various milestones. Just to name a few, we did a trial with standalone trial with with Airtel on 700 megahertz band. We did a voice over new radio trial with Vodafone Idea. We had demonstrated several 5G use cases with Vodafone and performed a 5G trial in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. So in terms of just our very active engagement with our CSP customers in India, plus our presence in India to serve the global 5G rollout from all aspects and all dimensions, definitely makes Nokia ready for supporting Indian customers and CSPs to roll out 5G. So we are very well geared up. Thanks for that question.
Great. Thank you, Vishal, for sharing that. Mr. Adarsh, coming back to you, could you share the digital roadmap for Airtel when it comes to building new digital businesses, which you've been doing actively, and revenue streams? Sir, we can't hear you.
Others are mute.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? I'm not on mute.
Yes, absolutely audible. Yes.
Audible, fantastic. So more than happy to share our roadmap. So see, like the way Airtel is orchestrated right now is we've got a huge investment now in making our core business stronger through our platforms. So that's the first layer. How do you get payments right? How do you get data right? How do you get network as a service right? Distribution as a capability right? On which we build our core businesses. We've got mobility, DTH, broadband, and then the B2B business, of course. The new business revenue streams come on top of this. And the philosophy is if you build these capabilities, what are sectors you can enter at a fraction of the cost and capitalize and build a business? So from that spirit, as we speak, there are three key business models that's emerged. So one is on the B2B side around SaaS revenue streams, right? And this is the CPaaS product that we talked about, right? Communications platform as a service. We are now in 135 enterprises in India with this product. And this has been scaling very nicely over the last 1.5 years. So this is absolutely a big bet where we give you or we give businesses the ability to orchestrate a call, an SMS, a video digitally. And an example would be if you're ordering food on Swiggy and you want to call the rider, you click that button on the app and the call goes through. That's powered by CPaaS technology. So that's a big push area for us. And as 5G comes in, a lot more services I expect to kind of tag on to the CPaaS module. Video definitely is going to accelerate. There could be more 3D services coming in as people build more applications in that area, etc. So that's one huge area of investment for us.
All right.
Another big bet that's coming is in the area of AdTech, right? As you know, like Jio, Airtel, these are massive telcos in India with an enormous footprint on the consumer side. And in Airtel's case, we also work with about 3,500 enterprises on the business side. So it's very natural to connect brands to consumers and using advertising technology as the medium. So this is another big bet for us. We've got more than 200 customers right now on our AdTech platform. That's been scaling nicely. It's an investment for the future. We're building on it. So that's also very interesting business for us. And the third one is the idea of a marketplace. Today, we sell a variety of telecom products. We sell our DTH products, broadband products. Why not use that same distribution arm to sell a few additional products? And here, we're investing heavily in entertainment, and we are investing heavily in financial services. So credit, loans, music, video, and eventually gaming are all services that's going to come right on top of the marketplace. So these are the initial bets that we have placed, and we are now doubling down on scaling these businesses. And of course, as 5G comes in, I see us doubling down on IoT. I see us doubling down on network as a service and work from home. But that's all future roadmaps. These are the three businesses that we're betting on heavily as we speak.
Great. Mr. Anish, what are your thoughts? Emerging technologies, whether it is AI or ML, they're transforming how data is being collected, processed, and used. So according to you, what are the key game-changing technologies that telcos must adopt to survive in the new normal?
In fact, Saurabh made a very, very interesting point that things are shortening. I think technologies are moving faster. He said that technology and innovation both are running at speed. And I definitely agree that technology cycles are becoming shorter. And seems like every few years we have a new list of technology. I mean, this is the nature of technology, and with each wave, there is a potential of technology-enabled disruption. I mean, there are new offerings, new experience, like what others was mentioning, new business models, new price performance benchmarks. Things are becoming better and better. This means that new entrants can leapfrog incumbents. I mean, if one is not keeping pace, you will be outcompeted. Sometimes maybe you are becoming irrelevant. I mean, look at 5 years back, 4G allowed Jio to emerge out of nowhere and become one of the leading telcos globally. And there has been a shake-up in the Indian industry. I mean, now 5G
Phenomenal.
is already here. Yeah, 5G is already here, and there's already talk about 6G. I mean,
And
people
it's
are
here
not
to
talking
stay.
about
Yes, definitely.
deep learning revolution has brought AI capabilities into every activity. So
Yes.
everything is now smarter, and this smartness can be scaled infinitely at a very marginal cost. This is a
Absolutely.
dramatic implication. I mean, think about it. I think uh, these are the areas where we have to really look into it. Similarly, I mean, another technologies which holds a great promise, but we have only scratched the surface. I mean, that's blockchain. Distributed trust can recreate industry ecosystem, completely different. And the traditional gatekeepers may find themselves bypassed. There's a threat to the entire financial sector if they don't really adopt it. Augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality, along with, I think, others mentioned Web 3.0, it can potentially unlock new revenues. Value may shift from traditional pipe model, which I think everybody used to do it, to this new digital ecosystem. So there is a definitely a shift which is happening. In short, one cannot be picking and choosing which technology we will select and which we will not. I think we have to think very differently. I would say that we should be thinking in terms of telcos adopting technologies. Instead of that, we should think of becoming technology companies who happen to address communication problems.
Yeah,
Think
I
very
think Mr.
differently.
Adarsh said that too at one of his earlier interactions, that telcos need to be techies. Yes.
Can I
Yeah.
can I add? Can I just add, if you allow me?
Yes.
Please, please,
Um,
please, sir. Please, sir.
so I think it's such a engrossing conversation. I just want to add that one of our challenges in industry has been that we have created the highways and the infrastructure, and obviously others have driven the car on it, correct? And how do we monetize that investment in 5G world is going to be our super big challenge. And I think everyone is touching upon the topic here, that our ability to play in the digital ecosystem, our ability to actually make sure that the developer ecosystem, as they build new products, actually use the capability of this 5G network in various ways. We talked about CPaaS just now. I think others touched upon it. These capabilities need to come into the picture more and more, and we need to really make sure that the network capabilities are part of the service chain when a developer is actually building an application to be consumed by an enterprise, because the innovation will continue to happen pretty much on this platform, and the people who innovate on this platform we need to give them the capability to consume the network as a service, as a code, as they build the new value chain, new digital value chain, and new service chain. I mean, that's where we as Nokia as well are looking to innovate, invest, and see how we help our customers participate in that process more proactively than reactively. And 5G definitely allows us to take that to the next level.
Definitely. So you're supporting CSPs on their journey, definitely. Coming back to you, Mr. Saurabh, in this fast-paced VUCA world, finding the right partner to drive innovation is also very important. So what are the critical success factors for telcos here?
Yeah, that's definitely a vested question. But having said that, as a partner, we don't create anything. We are into services. So having said that, um, uh, I think a couple of things. Others mentioned about the entire ecosystem which is required to make things happen, right? And likewise, when Kiran also pointed to the entire idea of how when you say something is wireless, but you actually there is an entire physical fiber which is being laid out right behind it. So it I think at the end of the day it has to be a collaborative story, simply because 5G is entering into the area which is affecting across industries in the world, which will require a combination of intense domain knowledge, industry expertise, along with the connectivity and the technology, with the right accelerators to make this all happen. Right? So you're talking about precision manufacturing, you're talking about remote monitoring. These are extremely specialized applications. This requires a high degree of industry expertise, very superior domain knowledge. It requires the right technology. It requires the right devices, right? It requires and the right business case to all bring together. Now, it is virtually impossible for any one entity to bring all of these things together. And and therefore at any point in time you need, and maybe Ruchira, I may just embellish your question a bit to say maybe they're not the right partner but the right partners, right? And the end of it, where you have 4 or 5 people coming, or 4 or 5 entities coming together to make all of this happen because of these various elements that are required to make the value chain successful.
All right. Mr.
Yeah,
Kiran, I'd like
I'll
to
just
bring
double down on that. If you don't
Yes.
mind, I'll just double
Yes,
down on that and say this is
Yes.
so much more relevant now than before. And every solution we pick up, and I'm speaking from Airtel right now, and we've got 2 of our best partners on the call. We've got Saurabh and we've got Nokia here. This is, without our partners, we believe we cannot make the progress we've been making. And the complexity of the solutioning required these days. Recently there was a conversation Saurabh and I had about surveillance for one of our clients. And
Correct.
the expectation of the client, it spanned almost 4 different technologies, 4 different types of services. And let's say we're able to bring one to market. We cannot get all 4 in the record time that the partner, that the customer needs it. And this has become more relevant right now, that collaboration and platformatization is going to be the way of the future. And multiple people, we just consider ourselves as a technology player now. We will need the likes of Accenture, Nokia, and people like us coming together to go solve customer problems. So it's highly relevant in the future that we are going towards.
Definitely. So collaboration is definitely the way forward.
I have earned my ROI from this panel discussion. Clearly.
Mr. Kiran, I'd like to talk to you here. It's critical that CSPs build their foundation for 5G with cloud-native communications. But as we all agreed, deploying the technology is actually the easy part. The more difficult challenge is implementing an organizational and cultural change to support this transformative technology. So how are you really preparing your operations team?
Yeah, so, people always used to say that to make technology happen, you need to first invest in skills. And we take it for granted. And a lot of telcos whom we tend to interact with always say that, how do we build this talent, right? Somehow all this talent wants to go and work for the likes of Googles and, all the Amazons of the world. But how do we get started with this entire journey? And of course, Anish mentioned that we were a little bit fortunate in Jio that we got to start as digital first, right from day one. But one of the interesting aspects about 5G, which I think has more dramatic implications for how telcos are organized, and it's true for us, but it's true in general, is that underlying 5G technology, while everybody talks about what 5G can do, but if you look at the underlying architecture of 5G technology, it is cloud native for the first time, right? So far, most of the earlier technologies were still, traditional boxes that you used to buy from vendors and you used to somehow integrate it. And telcos got really good at it because that was the way to do, that was a core business model, and that's how they did it. And we took for granted 6/9 availability, reliability, all the great things, doing it at scale, interoperability. These are all phenomenal achievements that telcos have done, and we tend to underestimate it. But when it comes to 5G, for the first time, the network itself is based on cloud native technology. And what I believe, what I can see the trend happening, is that once those technologies land inside the 4 walls of a telco, it will create a new set of awareness, new set of capabilities, new set of skills, because that is how people will have to operate and deal with 5G as a technology. So, and what does it mean? So it means that all network functions looking forward are becoming software oriented for the first time. All software is becoming cloud native, which means it is designed to run anywhere. It is designed to be scaling elastically, infinitely to meet demand. We are talking about agile development. We are talking about continuous integration, deployment, improvement, all the great things that we tend to associate with the best technology companies. Overnight, you will find that you will have to deal with as a telco as well. And this means that you have to evolve new muscles in the company, and you'll be forced to do it. Right? And the best way that it will happen is because it becomes the natural, if it gets embedded into the natural rhythm of how a company works, then it gets embedded into the DNA of the company. Organization, what that means is we will see more and more small teams, because the cloud native software development tends to work around very small, loosely coupled, what is traditionally called two pizza teams, multi-skill teams, who can take a piece of software from cradle to grave. They build it, they operate it, they use data to understand what is happening to it, and then they own the entire improvement lifecycle. This means a new set of talent that you have to invest in. It means a new set of practices. It means a new set of tooling. It means a completely new set of technologies, everything from cloud, of course, but AI, ML, experience-related technologies. And you need to evolve organizational frameworks to support this talent and this way of working. The way we have done it in Jio is that while the traditional telco hums along, we have created this umbrella organization called Jio Platforms. And we can also see that across the board, many of our peers are doing a similar model. So now we have a proper software organization where this talent can be nurtured. These new set of practices can be embedded. You can invest in creating the platforms and technologies, which obviously will support the core operating business itself looking forward when 5G comes along. But these talent and capabilities will no longer be limited to that. This will actually power the kind of digital transformation that all telcos are looking to create, because they will have these capabilities within their own four walls, thanks to 5G and the architecture, cloud native architecture of 5G that we are talking about, powering the entire technology when it comes to 5G.
Definitely. Vishal, I'd like to bring you in here. Nokia Global Delivery Centers in Chennai and Noida are, as you mentioned, already handling 5G network operations. So how are you preparing the workforce at your end to be 5G skilled to support Indian CSPs to scale up?
So, there is extensive, I would say, one is obviously a training program. As we build new products, we make sure that our teams in the field are, enabled proactively. And this is something that we have done through different generations. Obviously, I think, which you just heard from Kiran and Anish and others as well, and Saurabh, that, we're talking about a cloud native network, and we are talking about a completely different world. So it's not the same world that we were used to. This world is more software driven, more driven by underlying technologies of AI, ML, and I think blockchain is not very far away. You'll see that coming in. So we have to also refresh our talent to bring our skill sets of our existing people to a different level. And there is a constant build out. If you ask me today, our teams are now gearing up extensively globally, learning AWS, Google platforms, all these capabilities, learning microservices architecture, building software which is, agile. So there is a completely different way of going about it. Our people in delivery centers as well as in our R&D centers are already tuned towards more agile delivery model, more Scrum-based capability. So in terms of, we just couldn't be left behind. There is no option today. The world is so much software driven. To be truly cloud native, we need to build software from day one. I think there are advantages of being digital first, and as a company, we have transcended from the, I would say, from the old world of building appliances into the new world. And along with that, we have made sure that we continue to grow our talent and continue to upskill our talent and bring fresh talent as well in the company. So this is a big focus for us. Otherwise, we'll not be relevant, frankly speaking. And that is why we have to just stay ahead of the game constantly. And, I have to say that the talent pool in India does help us to, constantly, bring new capability in the organization.
Great. Saurabh, quickly, your thoughts here. How can the skilled workforce be enabled to adapt to the transformative changes that are evolving from 5G technology?
Well, very, very complex question, but I think very simply put, when the whole idea of computers and computer science, etc., came in, you had the entire world education system change. You had universities and schools adopt the right curriculum to essentially actually impart the kind of training right from the early days of education to people around computers and the applications of it. You had companies coming up and having specific courses and specific roles being created for it, but as we go forward. So I think something similar in terms of 5G and 5G applications will need to be done. in terms of making our workforce not only now but later future ready, to harness the entire power of 5G applications. So, which essentially means that there will be universities and courses coming up which will talk about 5G and 5G applications. You'll have a plethora of people essentially getting trained there. You'll have companies, I think, obviously proactively led by Airtel's, Jios of the world, essentially who will be the people who will be imparting that kind of a technical skill training across to people. But I think more importantly is 5G is, I think, from a skilled workforce point of view, will bridge the gap between what I call as employment and employability. Today, if you can pick up the paper and read about it, it'll say India's unemployment rate is still around 9.5, 10%, but still there are a series of jobs which are still available. Right?
Sure.
That gap between employment and employability is something that 5G can truly bridge if you're able to create the right ecosystem of areas that people
All
can
right.
be skilled.
Sure.
I may just want
So,
to add one thing, just a very relevant example. Nokia has actually launched a 5G certification program, a very unique of its kind in association with NIT, a first of its kind, to really get the professionals in the industry and the organizations kind of get a head start in building skills in 5G. So this is a very unique thing we're doing in India. Just wanted to share with you all that. Saurav, you just mentioned these are the kind of collaborations we will have to do at a scale. India, in India, you can't do things very small. You have to do at a scale, like, just heard from, Bharti and Airtel colleagues here, that how you have actually made one of the largest telcos in the country, correct? So if we have to do something and get skills out there, we'll have to do things at scale. And NID is a great partnership, actually, to build that scale at a level at which we can reach second, tier 2, tier 3 cities everywhere, correct, across the country.
great. So, Adarsh, just before we move to our last question, Mr. Adarsh, one last question to you. 5G, of course, will provide a whole new perspective to consumer experiences, whether gaming, video, music. So, any quick win-win strategies to become a customer-centric telco and maybe new ways to connect with the consumer?
I think there's only one way to win that, which is be customer obsessed. And I'm unfortunately fortunately copying a playbook from Amazon. We made the shift again as a part of this digital transformation. As a part of that, we also just heavily took that page and said we have to be customer obsessed, because this was an undercurrent that you saw all through this conversation, right? The technology is only an enabler. It's the customer who's moving fast. And even if we build out services and we hope that our customers love us, there is young startups out there that's innovating every day in terms of setting the bar for expectation. Think delivery. Recently, I read the news about the 10-minute delivery madness that's going on, right, in the food delivery space. That's going to come and hit us, because if you're going to do an online order of a SIM, they'll want that 10-minute delivery, right? So we are always looking around to say, what does the customer want from us? And the good news is we have very good touch points with them, whether it's through our online kind of data analytics or through our premium customer experience where our agents actually talk to our customers, or when they visit our stores. We pick up these nuggets, and wherever our customer goes, we go there. So that's the defining moment for how Airtel is going to take on this future. Technology is going to be an enabler. So that's I would say, the short and sweet way by which I would answer your question.
Great. So, thank you, gentlemen. Just before we wrap up, closing comments from each one of you. Which is the one aspect of 5G that you would like to adopt in the near future, whether it's healthcare, education, or entertainment, for the world? Mr. Kiran, you could take this first.
Difficult to pick. I will go with my colleague's answer, what Anish said, right? This is not the time when you get to pick and choose. And again, building on what others said, our customers are likely to pull us in directions. And if there is one skill that we have to invest in creating, it is that capability to adapt, right? So that capability, especially thanks to the vision of being a technology company first and using technology as an enabler, evolving organizational constructs where, as an organization at scale, we are still we are organized to be customer obsessive. It is not that people become suddenly customer obsessive when they go from a big company to a small company. It is that small company is too small enough for that orientation to survive. But as you become bigger, you have your own challenges. You become functionally, deeper. You more number of people, more number of touch points. How do we continue to build that into the DNA and the culture of the company? to be on the one hand learning new technologies on the other hand, and on the other hand learning about customer preferences on the other, and how do we marry the two to continuously innovate and deliver more and more exciting services on the back of things like 5G. I think that'll what will differentiate the winners from the also rans into the future.
Great. Mr. Anish, what are your thoughts here?
I think I said it, and probably it cannot be different from what Kiran mentioned. I absolutely agree that there is no one business or one vertical or one area to pick for 5G. I believe that 5G is actually going not only to disrupt some of the businesses, but there are some new businesses which are going to evolve. We have not thought about it. We have not looked about it. We don't even know yet. But I am very sure that there are many businesses, many opportunities, and many areas where things are going to change. I mean, we are at the cusp of making these changes. We are at the cusp of trying to identify what those technologies are going to be and how they are going to really change us. But I think we would not like to pick one particular area. Rather, we would be always on the watch to really figure it out. How can we disrupt ourselves? Because the only way we can survive is to disrupt ourselves.
Very well put there. The only way to survive is by disruption. But Mr. Adarsh, your closing comments.
Well, this has been the fascinating kind of round. Just I got to learn a ton from all the exceptional panel that you've built here. And I would just say there's going to be a very interesting next 5 years. And you just saw the amount of potential that I think India is going to see. I think it's going to be a huge opportunity to uplift the country, to create for value creation across sectors. And I think it's going to be a game changer for the country and for all of us here in this room. So with that, thank you for getting us all together.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Mr. Saurabh, your closing comments.
I think I'll echo, and I think when you asked about the one application, I'm an avid gamer, so I'm hoping that the best application of 5G is into gaming. Right? And but having said that, I think the best or the most transformative application of 5G is yet to be identified. I think we haven't been able to even conceptualize it. What spaces it can go to. Right?
All right, Mr. Anish, for revolution. So we will find out only as we go along.
Yeah, I mean, nobody thought about autonomous cars. Let's say 20 years back, 30 years back. So I think that application is still yet to be identified. That's the power of 5G and the technology that especially people in the panel are enabling it. But if I have to just simply put it together, I think if we can do something to provide education and health to everybody in India through 5G in some way or the other, right? It's like a dream in terms of if that can really enable it and make it faster. In India, as we were all talking, it's all about think big, start small, scale fast, right? I'm sure all of us will identify with that approach, right? So I think hopefully if that happens, that will be great for the country as well as for the world.
Great. And Mr. Vishal, your closing comments, which is that one aspect of 5G that you think will have a transformative impact in the future?
So I think, first of all, thanks a lot for having me here. Participating in this discussion has been very enriching for me personally. I've been in this journey, seen operators in Japan, Australia, North America, Western Europe launch 5G. But if you ask me personally, at the core of my heart, I'm very excited and looking forward to the launch of 5G in India, because the kind of problems we can solve, the scale at which we can deliver, the capability, and the innovation that Indian market can deliver, drive, is unprecedented. What we saw it in 4G, and I think 5G will just take it to the next level. I think I concur with Saurabh that to get we call about demographic dividend correct in India. I think 5G has the potential to get the most out of that demographic advantage we have as a nation, of a young nation. So getting more people education, getting most people best healthcare will be a huge value for through the nation, to the society at large, and that's where I think the promise of 5G could be realized, and we can truly build a digital economy. So yeah, thank you. This is really very good. This is a great conversation. Really enjoyed it a lot.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining in and sharing your insights. As a closing note, as you all said, this is the dawn of a new era of limitless possibilities, and 5G will definitely empower the sector to not only reshape their business models, but also launch new innovative services. And as the country moves ahead with its Digital India vision, 5G offers the opportunity to leapfrog to the next generation of connectivity. So thank you all for sharing your insights, and thank you so much for joining in today.
Thank you. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye.